Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Schooner Morning Show. I'm your host, Mark Prevo, and with me today, we are very lucky to have with us Ruth Southworth. She's been with us here at Schooner Estates for
11 and a half years.
11 and a half years. I cannot believe it. That's amazing to me. It just seems like yesterday,
Well,
you know?
I moved in July of '09.
July of '09. Amazing. And Ruth, you see her every morning. She is our exercise guru, doing the exercise routine that's been going on here for years and years and years. She does a wonderful job with it. I remember how you got involved with that and how you did that, and it's wonderful.
Well, I've exercised a lot, and this past summer when I went to have my physical, my doctor checked my bone density, and he says, "You have the bone density of somebody in their 40s." And I commented, "Well, must be that's all the milk I've drank." And he says, "That and exercise."
Isn't that great?
It is.
I don't think, I know a lot of people underestimate exercise and the benefits of it. And everything I've read says that the older we get, the less exercise we really have to engage in to make a bigger difference. So it doesn't take an hour a day, you know. A half an hour a day is great to keep people in very good shape. So, well, Ruth, let's start by telling us, like everyone, where you were born.
I was born in the hospital in Hanover, New Hampshire, but I grew up in Bradford, Vermont. My dad was a self-employed electrician. My mother had a beauty shop in our home, so she did that all there. And then in addition to that, they purchased, I think in the late 40s, a property with a dozen housekeeping cottages. So that was our summer. We did that usually from Memorial Day through into November, because we even had hunters that would out of state would come and stay there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I have 3 siblings, 2 sisters and a brother. And so we never had to go out and find a job when we were teenagers. We had a job at home because we were the ones that went in after the people left.
Yeah.
We went in and cleaned it up for the next one. And we had to do the laundry. And because we had our own spring, my dad was concerned that we would use too much water, so we used the old Ringer type washing machine.
Yeah.
Had 2 big stone, some kind of stone, soapstone probably, basins that you could wring it from the washing machine into the first rinse, and then you'd wring it into the second rinse, and then you'd wring it out with those old ringers. And occasionally you got your fingers caught, and that was kind of painful.
Oh, no. I remember my grandmother using an old Ringer washer and how fun it was to watch her. And that is amazing. That's truly amazing. Now, with the siblings and your mom at home doing the hair, you guys, she watched you while she was working.
Right.
So you were able to scoot away and...
Occasionally.
Yeah.
A lot of our tenants that came to visit were people, some of them had grown up in the area and they came back to visit.
Yeah.
A lot of them were families that just came and spent their vacation there. It was a tradition with them.
Yeah.
And there was a large area, fields that the kids could play in. We had a river down back that had a good swimming hole.
Oh, boy.
And then there was a barn on the property that was a rec barn, and it had a candlepin bowling alley and a pool table and other things. So the parents on a rainy day could send their kids to the barn and get them out from underfoot.
Wow. Wow. Boy, what a perfect setup.
Right.
I'm surprised you didn't take that over.
Well, my dad died in '62, and or at age 62, I should say.
Uh-huh.
And my mom tried to keep it for a while longer, but then it was too much. So finally, she sold it, and Most of it was people came in and tore down the cabins for the lumber and stuff that was in it.
Oh, gee whiz.
But it is still in the family. My mother stayed there until she passed. And then I have 2 sisters and a brother, and one sister and the brother bought out the other sister and I, so that it's still there. My brother is the caretaker. And
Yeah.
nobody actually lives in the house, but he keeps the wood fire burning to keep it warm and
Oh
stuff.
my, that's amazing. So you have kind of a family place to go back to in Vermont.
Right.
Oh, that's fantastic. See, I never knew that. As long as I've known you, I never knew that. And all the trips we've taken together.
Because the last time we went to Vermont, I think we went by on Route 25. We were going by, and if we'd have turned off, we'd have gone by my family's home in about 10 or 15 miles.
Oh, no kidding. We should have done that. You know me, I love an adventure.
Well, I think I mentioned to it, but the road forward to you needed to go
I
left, and we had to go right, and would have been out of our way.
I see. Yeah, yeah. Boy, that is really something. So you grew up in Vermont. You went to
Right.
school in Vermont.
Right.
And did you go on to school, or?
Yes, I went to a 1-year business school in Boston. This country girl had to find out what city living was like. Couldn't wait to come back to Vermont.
Oh, I can only imagine. To go to from Vermont to Boston.
Right.
It is a cultural shock, isn't it?
It is. But fortunately down in Boston they had I don't know, I assume it is no longer in business, but my mother had gone to hairdressing school in Boston, and she stayed at a place called the Franklin Square House, which was a residence for women. And so I stayed there for the year and did a year's course, and then I came back to Vermont and finally ended up with a job in the local bank. And that's where I worked for several years.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me how you met your husband.
Well, my husband was a local boy,
Mm-hmm.
but he was 7 years older than I am. And when he graduated from high school, he went into the Navy planning on being a 20-year man.
Oh,
But unfortunately, he developed diabetes, and so he couldn't stay. So he ended up with about 8 years worth of service. So he had come back to Bradford, and so we met and dated and eventually got married. The fact that he was a veteran helped him to get a job in the post office, because his service years would count towards the post office. And so unfortunately he died at age 47 from complication from the diabetes.
complications of the diabetes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that's young.
Heart problems.
Very young.
But between his military service and his post office service, I have his 25-year pin.
Wow, that is great.
So
That's really good. And you had a few children, right?
we have 2 sons.
Yeah.
Paul, my oldest, is the reason I'm at Schooner, because he moved to Lewiston. And when it was time for me to sell my house and come, I came up and looked at Schooner Estates and looked at a couple other places, but I made the mistake of looking at Schooner first. It wasn't a mistake, but it was the best one.
I was going to say, I hope it's not a mistake.
No, and the way I found out about it when I came up to visit him, I happened to look in the Yellow Pages.
Oh, no kidding.
And so then I came and had a tour and decided that I was here. I had stayed in Vermont because my mother was still living. She didn't pass until 2008, and at age 95. And between my siblings and my nieces, we were able to keep her home.
Isn't that great?
But then I was free.
Yeah,
And I had been a widow since I was age 40.
yeah.
The boys were 12 and 14 when their dad died.
Oh, wow.
But I was blessed with 2 great kids,
Yep.
because neither of them ever gave me a bit of trouble.
Well, you were very lucky.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
you were.
I don't think I was lucky. I think I was blessed.
Yes, you were blessed. There's no question about it. Yeah.
So that's how I ended up here.
Now, your other son is in the Midwest, right?
Well, Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yes.
Yeah.
When my husband didn't have much desire to travel, he'd done quite a lot of traveling in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passed, I had always wanted to travel, so I took the boys. And the first time we went, spent 10 days in Washington, D.C. Next year we went to, I think, Disney World. We went out and visited a friend out, a classmate of mine who lived out in California. We even went on I went to a travel agent and I said, what do you do with teenage boys when you want to go on a vacation? She said, you take them to the ocean so they can snorkel and stuff. So this was their April vacation. So we went to the island of Martinique in the Caribbean. Well, the only problem with that was none of us spoke French, and Martinique is a French-speaking. But we managed to get by at that time.
Yeah.
So then Paul, the oldest, the one that lives in Lewiston, he went to Champlain College up in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah.
He came back and he moved back home and he lived with me for several years until he came up here. Alan, he went to New Hampshire Tech up in Berlin, New Hampshire, and took their culinary arts course. And when he got ready to graduate, he was looking for a job. Well, the fact that I had taken him traveling so much kind of backfired on me. Because he said, I want to go out west.
Yeah.
So he applied to various places out west to be a cook.
Yeah.
And the one he ended up accepting was at Pahasca Teepee, which is right outside the eastern entrance of Yellowstone National Park. It's the property that used to belong to Buffalo Bill Cody.
Oh boy.
And they have tourist cabins, and it's a touristy thing.
Yeah.
So that's where he was out there. He met his wife Stacy there. Eventually they were married. So Alan was no longer in New England. I can't even get him to come back to visit.
Isn't that amazing? He won't even come back to visit. He loves it out there that much.
Well, I think part of it is, for one thing, if he came to visit me now, he wouldn't be coming home because I live in Maine instead of Vermont.
Right.
And I think being a 12-year-old and losing his dad,
Yeah.
he has issues that he's never resolved. And
I see.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't know that for sure. But
Oh, you're not a psychiatrist? Or a psychologist, whatever the difference is. Wow. So, and I know you've been out there to visit him several times and seen
I try to.
grandchildren.
Yeah, he had one daughter, Miranda. She's now 26. And she has Ethan Allen. My son's name is Alan, so we called it, I spelled his name A-L-A-N, so it only had 4 letters like Paul did.
Yeah.
But of course, the poor kids always had his name misspelled because there's too many ways to spell Allen.
Right.
But she had Ethan Allen, who turned a year old on December 27th.
Wow.
So when I went out last summer, of course, met Ethan, and I'm waiting for my vaccine so I can travel again.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know you've been to Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate that I've been in all 50 states.
All 50 states.
Yes, because after I got through working, I didn't tell you the story of my school. I worked as a school treasurer for years, and doing, being the treasurer, being the one that signed the checks and stuff. And I worked both at the elementary school, and then eventually I went to the high school, which was a union high school.
Yeah.
So, where I've lost my train of thought. Oh, I got through in 2001 from this high school, and I wanted to go out and spend the summers out with my kids out in Wyoming. So I got a job in Yellowstone National Park in a gift shop. So I worked there for 2 summers, 01 and 02. On my days off, I could go and spend my time with the kids. And then for 3, 4, and 5, I just went out and stayed with the kids and watched my granddaughter while her parents worked.
Yeah.
And so, when Miranda was little, I tried to go out 3 times a year anyway, because I didn't want her to grow up not knowing who Grandma Southworth was.
Exactly.
So.
Boy, oh boy, that's just wonderful. Really. What a good life, huh?
I have. I've been blessed.
Very blessed.
Being a widow at age 40 is
Sure.
a little shocking.
Yeah.
But I've been have good kids and been fine.
Yeah. What brought Paul to Lewiston, Maine?
A woman.
Aha.
Who,
Yeah.
That didn't last, but it brought him here.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I understand that. I've got a few nephews that have traveled quite far to be with someone they fell in love with.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Boy, oh boy. So I know you have some interest in hobbies and things. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
I know you love horses.
I do. When I think I was 10, and under the Christmas tree, or on the Christmas tree, there was a note addressed to me, my sister Lois, my sister Sally, and my brother Bruce. And it said, go down to the shed down behind the house. There were some garage-type sheds that were used for,
Storage and anything and everything, right?
So we went down there, and there was a horse. Her name was Melody. And so I was the one that was most interested, but my siblings were too. And so we raised a couple foals out of her. So at one time we had 3 horses. And my folks kept her until she died of old age. So eventually we probably had her 20 or 25 years.
Wow.
So that was, and so I do like horses.
Yeah.
The one thing I haven't done, and I don't expect ever to do, everybody has a bucket list. One of mine was to go and ride a horse along a beach.
Yes.
And I never came to Maine and did it. So.
Oh, shoot.
And I'm not sure my body would want me to do it.
I think David did that. I'm pretty sure that he went on a vacation where he was able to ride a horse on a beach, and he said it was really neat.
Yeah.
And I've been to some places where I've seen people ride the horse in the water. They're up to their necks, and the horse and them. But they said it's easier on the horse, and it's very therapeutic for both the horse and the rider.
Well, we used to take our horses, and I mentioned that there was a river we swam in.
Right.
And so we would
take the horse
right in the water.
Sure.
And we'd have it would have a bridle on, but it wouldn't have any saddle, and so we'd ride it in bareback, and then we'd slip off because it was easier for the horse if there was no rider on, and grab its tail or its mane and let it pull us to shore.
Oh, that is really neat. What great childhood memories. That's awesome. And hobbies?
Well, I like to knit, and I like to sew, and living in Schooner has been good for me because people have moved in here with a lot of fabric, didn't want it.
Right.
The last one to do that was Margaret, on a big scale, was Margaret Nichols.
Yes.
She passed in 17. I'm still working on the fabric that her son gave me. I make baby quilts for Advocates for Children. I made a lot of masks this summer.
Yeah.
And I also like to knit, and we have a knitting group in normal times here.
Right.
And so people have donated yarn. So I sit every day, I like to sew in the morning, and in the afternoon or whenever I'm watching TV, I'm knitting. And I knit baby winter hats or prayer shawls for my church and stuff. So
just wonderful. Just wonderful.
I'm just one of those people that can't sit and not do something.
Right. You got to be doing something. Oh, boy, that's wonderful. We can learn some good lessons from this lady, Ruth Southworth, up in apartment 623, is it?
Right.
623 in the Rockport building. Just a wonderful Schooner tenant, has been with us 11 and a half years. Time flies. It's just amazing to me. She is a huge help to the Schooner Tenant Council and always has been. You're the secretary-treasurer right now. The treasurer. The treasurer right now. Right, exactly. Excellent. Well, folks, we thank you for tuning in again. Ruth, I thank you for coming down today.
You're welcome.
And stay tuned Tuesdays and Thursday mornings at 10:05 for the Schooner Morning Show. Have a great day, everyone.